Oh, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Shaping Bay. I'm not covered in resin today, which is nice, and I've got a little bit of time on my hands, and we even have a microphone, so our audio is going to be a little bit better than last time. So today we're going to do a slightly different type of video. It was initially the whole concept I had for this channel. I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy named Uncle Roger, but he's a comedian who plays the role of kind of a quirky older Asian gentleman, and he reviews people's cooking videos from YouTube.
It's very hot and the garlic has now turned brown.
No, oh my god!
And I thought, man, I could do something like that. I probably wouldn't play the role of a quirky older Asian gentleman, but I could review videos of people repairing boards from YouTube and make a whole channel out of that. So the other day I discovered a golden little 30-second YouTube short titled How to Repair a Surfboard. So I watched it, and after I watched it I thought, this is the video that I've got to review. So we're going to watch this video together. We're going to watch the whole thing through so you guys get to see it, and then we'll flick back through each little chapter of it, and if you pick up on anything that I don't pick up on, then feel free to leave them in the comments, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we get out of this one.
Or the first thing you want to do is scrape up the ding a little bit and then use a ding repair kit, which should have fiberglass cloth and some resin. The resin is pretty potent, so try to wear gloves and a mask if you can. Once you pour a little bit of resin over the ding, you can add the fiberglass cloth and then pour more resin on top and lay it down evenly. Once you finish, you can just lay it out in the sun for about 20 minutes and it should be good to go.
Yeah, okay. I think if Uncle Roger watched this video, he'd probably say something like, so 24-second video. So the timestamp is pretty good on this. Let's go through it bit by bit and see what's good, what's not good.
Or the first thing you want to do is scrape up the ding a little bit and then use a ding repair kit, which should have fiberglass cloth and some resin.
We want to scrape up the ding a little bit. No mention of sanding. It's not uncommon that I get boards in that have, someone brings them in and they said, I've done little solar res repairs on them or whatever, but can you tidy them up? And they're not sanded, so by the time the board comes to me and I get to tidy them up, I just pick the solar res out and it's not sanded beneath, so there's no adhesion. So you definitely want to be sanding your surfboard after scraping it. If there's some wax on it, scrape that wax off, use a bit of wax and grease remover to clean it up, and then sand it really hard to remove the rest of the wax, and also so your resin has some adhesion to it.
A ding repair kit, which should have fiberglass cloth and some...
Alright, so I just want to point out this resin bottle here on the picture. So it's a solar res. It's quite a big bottle of solar res. It's, in my opinion, a pretty low quality resin, but the stuff is gold. It's really good to have on the fly. If you're about to jump in the water and you find a tail crack, it's gold. I love solar res. Polyester sanding resin hardens in 3 minutes when exposed to the sunlight. So if you don't know what a solar or a UV resin is, it doesn't require a catalyst because the catalyst is UV reactant. So you just put in UV light. You don't need sun, even an overcast day. It might take a little bit longer, 5 minutes maybe, but it's the UV light from the sun that kicks it. Or if you own a UV light, you can kick it with a UV torch. Interestingly, it's the sanding resin. We did see him pouring it into the cup. Behind it, there's a UV cure laminating resin as well. So the difference between a sanding resin and a laminating resin in polyester is a laminating resin, even after it's cured, it will never not be sticky as long as air's touching it. And the benefit of that is then you can put more fiberglass or more resin straight on top of it. You don't need to sand it. It adheres to that sticky surface. A sanding resin has a wax additive in it. So after it cures, or as it's been curing, the wax additive has floated up to the top of the resin layer, and it creates a barrier between air and the resin. So the resin beneath it can cure properly, and then you can sand it. So laminating with a sanding resin is generally a little bit of a no-no, but not the end of the world, especially on such a small ding. You can kind of get away with something like that.
The resin is pretty potent, so try to wear gloves and a mask if you can.
That's probably my favourite bit. The classic thing about this guy pouring the resin into a cup is he uses his fingers to do the ding anyway. So he may as well just have the bottle there and stick his finger in it and like... I just don't understand. Why would you have the cup? So the resin's pretty potent. This is true. It's a polyester resin, and solar res is still pretty potent. The guy in the video isn't wearing a mask, but it's a pretty small ding, so I'm going to forgive him for that. But try to wear a mask and some gloves cracks me up, because you're using your hand to apply it. It's not often I see people repair dings with their fingers, but if you were doing this without gloves, you would be mental. I can't see a reason why you wouldn't wear gloves. Most of those ding repair kits, I think, actually come with a pair of gloves, so wear gloves for this.
Once you pour a little bit of resin over the ding, you can add the fiberglass cloth and then pour more resin on top and lay it down evenly.
Oh, brutal. They filled the ding with resin, so this is the step where normally I would say don't fill it with resin and a Q-cell mix, fill it with foam instead. With a ding like this, I would actually pre-fill it with clear resin, so that's a good step. But then the difference is I would pre-fill it, I'd take it out into the sun for 3 minutes, I'd let it harden, then I'd sand it smooth, and then I would do the next laminating step. But to pre-fill this ding and then not let that resin cure, and then she says something along the lines of lay the cloth down evenly. You can't lay fiberglass cloth down even. You can't lay any cloth down evenly in a hole, and because they haven't sanded around or in the ding, there are jagged little sections. There's air in there, and if you can't lay the fiberglass down flat, if there's little raised sections, then there's air between the board and the cloth, which makes your cloth weak. It's not adhered to the board, so it may as well not be there. It actually probably would have been better off just filling this ding with solar res, putting it in the sun, and then leaving it. I know exactly what's going on here, guys. I've discovered the little conspiracy. You want to hear it? The guy in the video pouring the resin into the cup, he is the boyfriend of the girl narrating with the YouTube channel. So she makes videos that targets people presumably new to surfing. She guides them in a way that they damage their own surfboards, and then she can recommend her boyfriend as a surfboard repairer, and he gets the money from fixing their boards. That is fucking genius. I'm gonna go call my girlfriend. I've got an idea.
You can just lay it out in the sun for about 20 minutes and it should be good to go.
20 minutes is crazy. Alright, so lay the board out in the sun for 20 minutes. Those board racks are incredible. It's like double bucket at the front. Oh no, it's double bucket at the back too. They're cool. I'm interested in them very much. Is that a Stinger? That's a nice board. It looks like it's got some more dings on the tail and the rail. We know it's got that one and the logo on the deck. Yeah, that's a nice board. That definitely needs someone who doesn't have solar res to have a look at it. Laying the board in the sun for 20 minutes is a little bizarre, considering it says on the bottle hardens in 3 minutes when exposed to sunlight. And if we look at that frame again and check out the sky in the background, it is a bluebird day. So 20 minutes to leave a surfboard in the sun is a long time, even if there's no ding. That's where D-lambs come from. If it was an overcast, cloudy day, 7 minutes max I would be putting that board out there. But none of my customers' boards would ever be in the sun for 20 minutes. Hi, that might be a shed. It could actually be a blue shed. It might not be the sky. Either way, the sun is definitely shining. It doesn't need 20 minutes in the sun. That's a terrible idea. The most sinful part of this video, for sure. In theory, this video is targeting people who don't have a lot or any experience of surfboard repairs, and maybe not even a lot with surfboards and surfing. All surfers ride epoxy boards made of EPS foam. And if you don't already know, if you put poly resin on EPS foam, it dissolves the foam. Ugh, the ones I feel the worst for are the ones who bring you a surfboard, they got a ding in it, and their mate said, oh, it's only a little one, I can fix that. and they ride an epoxy board, and their mate takes it home and just fills this ding with poly resin. And as that ding gets bigger and bigger and bigger, they panic, they freak out, so they just squeeze more and more poly resin in it. And then by the time it gets to me, you could, like, it was a ding that big, and you can, like, fist it by the end. I try and give those people discounts because it's a hard lesson learned. Sometimes you just can't trust your mate, so classic. The worst thing about doing it with solar res is there's a limit to how deep you can pour solar res, because if you pour that much, the UV light can penetrate all of it, hardens all of it pretty quickly. If you pour it really deep, the UV light will only penetrate this much, so everything below it is liquid. So if you fill an EPS board with solar res and it just eats away to the other side of the board, UV light will never reach it, it will never go hard, and it will never stop eating the foam in your board away. So that to me is probably the biggest minus of this video, is there's no disclaimer at all. If you own an epoxy board, do not follow this or these instructions. If you own a poly board, don't follow these instructions either. So a quick recap of the video. Ding not sanded, pre-fill not hardened, laminated over a wet pre-fill, an unsanded ding, an uneven surface, leaving an IPA stinger in the sun for 20 minutes. That is a huge minus. Wait, this video is 24 seconds long. They could retitle the video, "How to Fuck Up Your Epoxy Surfboard in 24 Seconds." Restoration of an IPA stinger in 24 seconds. That's it, guys. I hope we've all learned something today. And we'll see you in the next video. Cheers for watching. Oh yeah, do the subscribe thing as well. Chee-hoo!